problem with boxing at the moment is people popping up with numbers that aren't real. Sometimes they're delivered, sometimes they're not. But what that does, and we've been guilty of that when we came into the market with DAZN, is inflate the market and actually pay fighters based on commercial value that doesn't exist. And good luck to them, by the way, because that happens in all businesses, right? But I'll give you an example. If Terence Crawford is getting 10 million to fight David Avanesian on BLK Prime and it does, 20,000 buys, 25,000 buys, the maths shows you that someone hemorrhages double-digit millions in that fight, right? But they don't mind because they're coming into the market, they've got investment, and the fighters benefit. But the problem with that is the comparison between what they might make in a Spence fight. And I go back to, I don't feel for Al Haymon, but I also understand Al Haymon knows the numbers, he knows the market, okay? If the fight was as big as some people think it is, the fight would get made because the money would be there. But when you budget a fight, like you would for Spence against Crawford, you have to give your honest opinion of what you're prepared to pay as a guarantee, and I understand apparently there was no guarantee for that fight, about what your line is on the pay-per-view, right? And my line on that pay-per-view would be 300,000 to 400,000 buys. That's where I'd be putting my guarantee at. Someone's told these guys that it does 1 million, right? Now, if it does 1 million, then you don't need a guarantee. And Fury Joshua is a good example. Neither fighter asked for a guarantee in that fight because we know it does 1.5, 2 million pay-per-view buys. We know it does the biggest gate in history. But the truth is about Spence Crawford. Do you really know? No, because otherwise Al would say there's a minimum guarantee for 800,000 buys. This does 1 million, 1.2, no problem. Because if you said to me to put a guarantee in place for Fury against AJ at 1 million buys, of course. Not a problem, but that's the problem. We just don't know about Spence Crawford. Neither guy has done exceptional across pay-per-view. And if the fight was as big as some people thought it would get made. But again, then someone comes in and says, well, I'll give you guaranteed money to fight David Evanesian. Of course, if you're Terence Crawford, why not? You can't lose that fight. But then you get a fight that people don't want to see. So it's not always that simple. And unfortunately, Danny, there's no barriers to entry in boxing. So a lot of the times you're negotiating with a manager or an advisor that simply doesn't know the numbers. I think it's worth this. Why? I'll show you a budget. And we can all work off. Open book is great if the fighter is a draw. Look at Anthony Joshua, great example. That model, Canelo Alvarez, that model where you say you own everything is great. But if they don't draw, like Terence Crawford or Errol Spence, that model's actually a waste of time. And that's why Terence Crawford turns around and says, I don't want open book. I want a guarantee. Why do you want a guarantee? Because you're not sure about the numbers. That's it in 5 minutes.
Just generally, Crawford and Spence, obviously, they might draw in their hometowns in terms of a crowd, but why aren't they bigger TV or pay-per-view draws in your view?
In my opinion, neither guy has really been promoted or pushed in terms of profile. PBC have a track record of not being a promotional company. Right? That they're not a promotional company that push their fighters. They don't have a figurehead that goes out there with a big mouth like me or like Oscar and just, and pushes the fighters, pushes them on social, pushes them 24 hours a day. So I think Errol Spence has suffered in that respect, right? He came over, he beat Kell Brook. This is a guy that should be coming back and doing 400, 600, 800,000 buys. It's just never caught fire. Terence Crawford, even worse in that respect. When he boxed Amir Khan, Top Rank lost millions of dollars in that fight because it did 100,000 or whatever it was. He hasn't been able to push the pay-per-view numbers. I don't know why. Maybe he hasn't been promoted correctly, or maybe he didn't want to do or push himself with Top Rank or himself. We know he's big in Omaha, but Omaha's not going to put dollar signs on gates. That's the problem.